So we're going to talk about, what to do. And by the way, this presentation is sponsored by the Texas REIAs and flipping.com, the number one place on the internet to get started flipping, one of our many companies. This is sponsored by the Texas REIAs, the largest by far network of real estate investor associations in the great state of Texas, over 150,000 members going back to 2003. So why do you care, and why does that matter? Well, the reason you might care and that it does matter is because real estate is local. Laws are local. Contracts are local. Contractors are local. Houses are local. Buyers, sellers, they're all local. There's 30,000 YouTube videos that talk about how to invest in real estate. They talk about how to do it anywhere. How to do it anywhere is how to do it at 30,000 feet. Real estate is not bought and sold at 30,000 feet. Real estate is bought and sold at 0 feet. So if you want to know what laws apply here, which neighborhoods to specifically invest in here, where to buy and hold, where to fix and flip here, where to get contractors and money and resources here, where do you get all that? And the answer is you get all of that at your local real estate investor association. And my job is to make you all into educated and contributing members of this community. So we are live, and we're also broadcasting, so hello you guys online. If you are on GoToWebinar, you are live. If you are on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Instagram, you may or may not be live, but if you'd like to come to future live training, just go to flipping.com/events, because we have all kinds of training continuously, and it's posted on the training schedule. All right, so let's get started. And the first way I'm going to answer, question I'm going to answer is how to get started. People always ask me, well, what's the best way to get started in investing in real estate? And I know we have all kinds of people here that have all kinds of backgrounds and interests. But everybody here is here for some reason, because you either want to get started or get to the next level or leverage something you got or whatever. So where do you start? And there's a lot of ways you can do this. You can do residential, or you can do commercial. You can do active, or you could do passive. So the question is, like, which is the best? Which one of these is the best? My answer would be yes. But it depends on the problem that you're trying to solve. And I think that's the question you have to ask. What problem are you trying to solve? So for example, if you told me, I want to quit my job, I want to make an extra $100,000 or more in the next 12 months, I want to create a side hustle, I want to make money, doing something from real estate, even if I have little or no money. How do I do that quickly, relatively quickly? Well, if that's your problem and goal, I'm going to say flip houses. And we're going to talk about 11 different ways to do it. Most of them require no money, and even the ones that require money, you can use other people's money. So anybody can do this, and there's many ways to do it. We're going to talk about all the different ways to do it, and the fastest way to quit your job, create a six-figure income, I'm going to say is flip houses. Now, if you say that's not what I'm here for, that's not my problem. I like my job. I'm not looking to make extra money. What I'm really looking at is to build wealth. I want to build a nest egg so that when I retire, my net worth is much, much higher than it is now. Right? If that's your goal, I'm going to say, well, you should own rental properties. In my opinion, everybody should buy rental properties. Smartest thing I did is 20 years ago, I bought a whole bunch of rental properties, right? And I just took the keys for the rental property. I kind of handed them over to the property manager. I said, see you in 20 years, right? And because you don't want to touch them, you just hand over the keys and see you in 20 years. That's exactly what I did. And it's like the best thing I ever did. And you want to build a lot of wealth over time, own rental properties, right? Anybody can buy them. And I'm even going to show you some cool ways to buy rental properties, even, listen to this, even with no money and no credit. So I think that's appealing because that's very scalable. Now, if you say, but that's not really what I'm here for, you still haven't gotten it, Phil. What I'm really looking to do is I want to make money with my money, right? I want something that's a better return than the stock market. I want something safer and higher return than the stock market. I want to take my 50 or 100 or whatever thousand. I want to double it, and I just want to have somebody else do all the work. Well, I'm going to say if that's what you're here for, you should be investing in syndications. Commercial syndications, on average, have twice the return of the stock market and half the risk. And I got to tell you, nobody ever goes back to the stock market after they start investing in commercial syndications. And if you ask a financial advisor, like ask your financial, what do you think about investing in commercial real estate? You know what they're going to say? Oh, you don't want to do that. Bad idea. Bad idea. It's just, oh, I knew this guy did that. Really bad. Right? You know why they hate it so much? because as soon as their clients figure out commercial syndication, they lose 100% of their clients. It's a one-way ticket, right? I have not invested in the stock market in 20 years because if you just know about stuff that you have more control over that's safer and higher return, you're not going to go back to the stock market. And the stock market makes money, don't get me wrong, right? But there are things better. Wealthy people, I'm sorry, do not invest in the stock market. They invest in private equity, they invest in syndications, right? And when you really know what you're doing, you're going to do something better than just the stock market. But then if you say, but no, you still haven't gotten it, Phil, I want to do the $1 million deals. I want to make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year. I want to make millions of dollars a year. I'm going to say then you should be syndicating commercial properties. You should be flipping, right, apartment buildings and storage facilities and commercial deals, right? You can use other people's money to do that, and that's how you make $1 million or more per deal. Now, the only catch is typically a syndication is a 5-year deal. So it's typically 5 years. So yes, it's big money, but it's not fast money, right? So if you start one a year now, right, in 5 years, you know, you're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, or whatever a year. So those are the 4 quadrants. Which one's the right one? I'd say, yeah, they're all great. Most people start here. I would say most people are going to start here. And then I'm going to say keep some, right? We have the Bluebell ice cream philosophy, right? What do they say? We eat all we can and we sell the rest, right? We flip all, we keep all we can and then we flip the rest, right? But yeah, there's some of the rental properties you definitely want to keep. By the way, there's some neighborhoods you would never buy rental properties in, some neighborhoods you would absolutely buy rental properties in, and it's completely opposite of what people think. We have some special heat maps I'll talk about and show you. Now, I'm going to say once you have more money than you need to pay your bills, you're going to want to make money with your money, and the best way to do that, I'm going to tell you, is to invest in commercial syndications. I'm not here to pitch you a commercial syndication, but I'm just telling you what I do with my money. And then, you know, if you really invest in commercial, you learn how it works, because you put 50 in, you get 100 back, right? You put 100 in, you get 200 in back, right? And you could use your IRA to do this, right? Great place to put your IRA. And you know, when you put 100,000 of your IRA into a deal and you get 200 back, you're going to think, wow, that's cool. But then you're going to realize the guy you invested with your 100,000 with probably made $3 million, and you're going to see exactly how he did it. And then you're going to say, well, 100's good, but 3 million's better. So you're going to want to be that guy. And that's kind of where people ultimately end up. So they're all great, right? So let's do a little poll of the audience. How many of you are here probably because you want to get started flipping houses? Who wants to flip some houses? Great, great. How many of you are here mostly because you just want to build wealth, rental properties? Okay, great, great. How many of you are here because you want to make money with your money? Who wants to make money with your money? Right, great, great. And how many are here because you're ready to sponsor deals? Okay, great, great, awesome. They're all fantastic, you know. And we need people in all 4 quadrants, right? And I think I got more than 100% participation because I saw a number of hands go up more. That's okay. I do all 4 of them, so I love them all. So most of you said, you know, and we have training and resources and money and networks and communities and subgroups that do all of this stuff, right? So you're in the right place. We can help you regardless of which of these quadrants you want to play in, or you can play in all of them. Most of you, this is just a quick, we have a lot of resources. If you're interested primarily in commercial, you might want to take a click on that because we have some free training and things like that we do for commercial. So if you click on that, and all these little QR codes, what it does is it just says it sends a message from your phone, and then it will send you a message back with information about whatever that is. So that's how we hook people up with lenders and different training resources and things like that. So if you're really interested in commercial, take a quick snapshot of that, and we'll hook you up with some free commercial resources. Okay, so most of you were looking at quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. So let's get started there. And if you want to make money and generate some income, even with little or no money, I've got 11 ways to do that. So we'll talk about those. And then I'm going to tell you we keep the best, right? You're going to definitely want to keep some of them for your buy and hold properties. So let's get into some of these strategies. And oh, by the way, if you don't know who I am, I'm Phil Grove. You saw that little video earlier. I became a real estate investor 20 years ago. Done over 1,000 deals, owned about 30 million rental properties, made a lot of money over the years. I've taught a lot of people. I do enjoy teaching this. I didn't really have some plan I'm an ex-engineer. I got fired from my job, thank God, and found something better to do. And I'm going to say this real estate thing is something where there's a lot of opportunity to do what we call bringing people along for the ride. So I'm bringing you all along for the ride. What does that mean? Real estate investing, just ask your friends and family. It's a really dumb idea. So just so you all know, real estate investing is a really dumb idea. And it remains a really dumb idea right up until the moment what happens? You make money. At which moment it instantaneously becomes a brilliant idea. And all those people that told you it was a dumb idea are going to say, show me how you did it, right? So, and we call that bringing people along for the ride. So I brought a lot of people over the years along for the ride. And these are some of the deals I flipped. I don't have time to go through them all, but I do up to a real estate transaction a week. And that creates money in what we call big chunks. Now that sounds cool, right? Money in big chunks. I'm not here to sound cool. What I really do want to do is I want to kind of teach you the basics of how this business works. The way this business fundamentally works is as follows. We do things to find people with needs, with problems. What kind of problems? Well, they have a house they don't want. Maybe a mortgage they can't afford. Problems to entrepreneurs are what? Opportunities. Big problems are what? Big opportunities. So if you're thinking like, I don't want any problem, you're thinking, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. We're real estate entrepreneurs. And you have to think of yourself that way. We solve real estate problems. Problems are a good thing, right? And we help the world and add value to the world by helping the world solve their problems. So let's get a little more specific. I found somebody facing foreclosure, huge problem. I gave them a way out. Something called a short sale allowed them to sell their house without having to bring money to the table, without completely destroying their life and their credit. And I made $16,000 helping somebody get out of a situation. REO stands for real estate owned, bank owned property. Banks do not want to own real estate. They're not in the real estate business. So I took it off the bank's hands and I flipped it and I made $36,000. Guy had an interesting legal problem, had to sell a house by Friday. Okay, a realtor cannot sell your house by Friday. I can. Okay, wholesaled it, made $5,000. Got a property subject to my specialty, no money, no credit. Flipped it, made $68,000, $5,600 on a small assignment deal, $6,000 on a small mortgage assignment, $10,000 on wholesale, $2,800 a small referral, $12,400 for a large referral. The way this business works is as follows. We do things to find people with problems. And here's the beautiful part. For every problem that exists, there is no exception. For every problem that exists, we have a solution, a strategy. It helps people, helps them, solves their need. That's what this is about, solving their need, and gets us paid. Sometimes we get singles, sometimes we get doubles, sometimes we get home runs. Sometimes I work on a lead, a deal, an opportunity, a problem for 6 months, and after 6 months I make $500. I'm like, oh man, $500 for 6 months. I could have made more money working at Walmart. Thank goodness I'm not working on just one lead at a time. Sometimes a phone rings and that phone call makes me $55,000 in 48 hours. I'm like, oh man, I wish every time my phone rang I made $55,000 in 48 hours, but that's not how it works either. That's maybe 1 in 100 phone calls. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how often do you get 100 phone calls? Because you can determine that. It depends on how many deals you look at, which depends on how much marketing that you do. So there's 2 essential skills I have to teach you right now. And the first and foremost skill is marketing. Marketing is finding the deal or generating the lead. Is it hot in here? You mind if I take off my jacket? Because I'm hot. This is hot in here. I don't know how this got so hot in here, but it's really hot in here, so I'm going to take off my jacket. So marketing is generating a lead. A lead is just a name and number of somebody that might want to sell real estate. And we need to spend 85% of our time and money on marketing. The next skill we have to learn is strategy. Strategy is doing the deal, solving the problem. We buy houses, help people sell houses, get rid of houses, mortgages they don't want, can't afford. We do it in a variety of different ways. I'm going to show you that solves a variety of different problems. So marketing and strategy are the 2 skills, right? Finding deals, doing deals, finding problems, solving problems. So I'm going to teach you 65 tested, proven ways of finding off-market wholesale real estate. I'm going to find you a dozen different strategies to help people. It's about helping people solve their need, problem, and get yourself paid. Over half of the methods, the marketing methods I'm going to teach you are completely free. And 9 of the 12 investing strategies I'm going to teach you are no money and no credit strategies. So finding deals, doing deals, finding problems, solving problems. These are the two skills. Let's dive in, starting with the marketing. Oh, actually, first I'm going to tell you a quick story. This is the first deal I did. This is actually the very first house I flipped. And I flipped this house on December 15th, 2003. I bought it for $80,000. Man, I should have kept it. I flipped it. You know what this thing's probably worth today? Probably $500,000, but whatever. Anyway, had to make some money too. So, but I flipped it. It was my very first flip. But I'll tell you a story. On December 14th, 2003, I was scared to death. I was actually being coached and mentored by the two guys who ran the Real Estate Investor Association back then. I called them both on the phone on December 14, 2003. I'm scared. Are you sure this is going to work? I don't want to lose any money. It took two experienced, seasoned guys to pull me kicking and screaming over the starting blocks to get me to do that first deal. So if you're a little scared, I get it. I can relate, and I can help. But I had one other thing that was actually also moving me forward. I was in a job I no longer loved, and I was in a career I no longer loved. And I'm going to tell you, if you're spending your time doing something you don't love doing, you need to do something different with your life plan, because you get one life, and it just races by. My wife and I recently had a baby boy, and I noticed this last weekend there was a 15-year-old running around in my house, and it's like, what happened? You know, he's taller than me, and we're talking cars, right? I'm like, he was a baby, you feed him, and now he's taller than me, and like, what happened to 15 years of my life? It just raced by, right? And it's like, you know, if you're not on a trajectory to reaching your God-given potential, to getting whatever the life is that you want, you need to change the trajectory. Like now would be good. It's funny because we also sponsor a little online show, a YouTube channel, and we interview people in this network, right, who are typically now millionaires or multimillionaires. So we're very proud of the fact we've created a lot of millionaires over the last 20 years, a lot. Right? In fact, we can point to one on a weekly basis, and I don't know any other organization that can point to a member on a weekly basis, millionaire, millionaire, millionaire. We can't, right? And so we have a little YouTube channel where we do these interviews and host them. And one question we ask every one of them, it's the same question: what is your biggest regret? And 100% of the time you get the same answer. What does every millionaire real estate investor tell you their biggest regret is? I wish I started sooner. Now, what does that tell you? Like now would be good. So yeah, it's a good time to start. So speaking of starting, my first deal, let's talk about that for a second. Your first deal in so many ways is your most important deal. Kind of like your first kiss, right? Life-changing experience. Everybody remembers their first kiss. Everybody remembers their first deal. I'll tell you about mine. It took me 6 months to find my first deal. I was actually a kind of slow starter. I got it under contract with a contract that I got right here at the REIA. We'll get you a contract. Bought it using OPM, other people's money, private money lender here at the REIA. We got over 1,000 private money lenders here at the REIA. Got a contractor here at the REIA, got a lot of contractors here at the REIA that fixed it. Got a realtor here at the REIA that sold it. Got an attorney and title company here at the REIA that closed it. And I went to that very first closing and picked up that very first check for $15,384.26. And when they handed me that check, it was like you unscrewed the cap, popped out the old brain, popped in the new brain. Because right up until the moment that they handed me that check, I was a real estate investor based on theory. And I wasn't even sure I believed the theory. I don't know about this, not sure about that, don't know about this other thing. But the second they handed me that check, like a switch flipping, I became a real estate investor based on experience. See, I didn't know anything different except I knew it actually worked. And what I realized when I got that check is if I did this and this and this again, I get another check, right? Worked the first time. If I did this, this, and this again, I get another check. But the really big deal that I realized when they handed me that check, I realized at that moment that I would never, ever, 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 for the rest of my life, ever, ever have to work for somebody else. Ever, 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 never, ever again. Yeah. And I haven't worked for even 1 second for somebody else. So if you're new and you're just getting started, my first piece of advice is to focus like a laser beam on that very first deal. Because that very first deal will change your life. Deals 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 combined, not as hard as deal number 1. So I told you I was going to tell you what I did right, but I'm also going to tell you what I did wrong. Because I made all the rookie mistakes. And this was my first rookie mistake. I spent all that time finding the deal. I found the deal. Right? As soon as I found the deal, I kind of put my marketing on hold. I picked up some hammers. I managed some contractors. I worked on that project. I finished the project. I got the check, only to wake up the next day and realize I had absolutely nothing to do. Well, you know, except start the whole business all over again. And this gets me to my very first takeaway, and this is it, and this is maybe the biggest lesson I'm going to teach you today. The business of being a real estate investor is the business of finding deals. It's all about finding deals. Why? Because you make the money on the buy. What does that mean? As soon as you find a property, get it under contract, guess what? Whatever money was going to be made or not made, done. Right at that moment. Yeah, you get the money at the end on the sell, but you make the money on the buy. And once you understand that, you should understand you always have to spend 85% of your time and money looking for the next deal, with the attitude the next deal is always more important than the deal you have now. The rookies all screw this up. The rookies find a deal, they make some money, but while they're working on the deal, they're not looking for the next deal. So they finish the deal, they got no other deal, they restart the marketing, eventually they get it going again, eventually they find a deal, they do a deal, they make some money, great, but they stop the marketing to work on the deal. And their income goes up and down with big gaps in between. You want your income to go up, 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 up. And the only way to do that is you have to always spend 85% of all of your time and money on marketing, looking for the next deal. But the next deal is always more important than the deal you have now. And hint, the deals you are looking for are not in the MLS. The MLS is the multiple listing service. It's the retail market for real estate. It's where realtors sell real estate. It's where all the people in the world compete with each other to see who will pay the most. And I hate to say it, but when you're competing against all the people in the world, some of those people are stupid. And you don't want to compete against stupid. Well, you don't want to win competing against stupid. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I love the MLS. I adore the MLS. Why do I love and adore the MLS? Because after I buy off-market wholesale real estate, where do I then want to go to sell it? On the MLS. It has been proven that any property listed in the MLS will sell for the most it could possibly be sold for. That's just never where you're going to find heavily discounted wholesale real estate. The very best deal in the entire MLS would rarely be a deal a real estate investor is going to even take a second look at. So, finding deals. Oh, this is the rookie mistake. I'll show you this again. Their income goes up and down and up and down and up and down because they keep turning the marketing on and off and on and off and on and off as they go back and forth between looking for a deal and doing a deal, looking for a deal and doing a deal. You don't want to do that. You want to always be marketing. Spend 85% of your time and money. Never stop marketing. Never stop the marketing machine. It's the engine of your business. So finding deals. Once I realized this whole shoot and match is really about finding deals, then I started to systematize the process of finding deals. And over time, I developed 65 methods, campaigns to find deals. Actually, it's not totally accurate to say I developed 65 methods. What would be more accurate is to say I found 65 things that work and I started to do those things. In fact, I need to teach you all a really important lesson, maybe the most important lesson that I'm going to teach you today. But for me to teach you this next lesson, first I want to unteach you all something. Okay, so I want to unteach you all something. When you guys were in elementary school, if you looked over the paper next to you and you copied down the answers, what they call that what? Cheating. And cheating is what? Bad, wrong. Okay. We're not a bunch of little kids. We're not in elementary school anymore. Going forward, I need you all to unlearn that. Because going forward, guess what? Cheating is actually the shortcut. What am I saying? What I'm trying to say is this. There is nothing that you are trying to do. There's absolutely nothing that you are trying to figure out that I and other people haven't already done and figured out. Everything, and I mean everything, and I mean absolutely everything about this business is completely understood. We know what's in the soil. We know the zoning. We know the guys that write the freaking zoning. We know the appreciation rate by street in all the major cities across the state of Texas. We know the exact letters to send to the exact marketing list. We know the exact words to say. We know the exact offers to make. We know exactly what objections we're going to get. We know exactly how to overcome the objections. We even know on average how many contracts we're going to get signed for every 20,000 letters or postcards we send out. Everything, and I mean everything, and I mean absolutely everything about this business is completely understood. And once I realized everything I was trying to do and everything I was trying to figure out, other people had done and figured out, I stopped trying to figure everything out and I just started to, here's this word, copy, right? Copy the tested, proven methods of actually going out and doing this. So let's talk about how to actually do this. What are the 65 different ways to find an off-market deal? Well, the first set of strategies has to do with marketing lists. You can buy marketing lists. Olivia mentioned Flipping Pro as a list broker. They will sell you marketing lists of motivated sellers, for example. So what are some of the and then what do you do with a marketing list? Well, you can send them letters, you can send them postcards, you can send them text messages, you can call them, you can put voicemails into their voicemail, you can send them email, you can knock on their door, right? Or you can do what I do and use an AI chatbot to chat with them and schedule an appointment with them while you're sleeping and call thousands of people while you're sleeping and then schedule appointments for you to talk to the good ones. Or you can do a combination of those, which is called a multi-touch campaign, right? Those are how you turn those leads into deals, right? So what are some of the popular marketing lists? Well, you can get a list of people that didn't pay their property taxes, a list of people that are late paying their mortgage, 30 or 60 or 90 or 120 days late paying their mortgage, a list of people that have filed for divorce. 2 people were combining their income to pay a mortgage. Now one of them's gone. Well, the one that's left is probably having trouble paying the mortgage by themselves. You can get a list of people that have inherited a house from somebody that passed away, people whose credit scores are starting to fall, people that just got dismissed from bankruptcy, certainly a lot of financial distress there. You can get a non-owner occupied list. This is a list of people that own a house where they don't live in the house they own. Well, technically, those are landlords. And a lot of them are what we call accidental landlords. They couldn't sell the house, so they rented it. Or they let a tenant or ex-spouse or family member stay in a house, or they inherited a house with a tenant in it. They didn't really plan on being a landlord. They don't really know how to do that. Eventually, they very often become motivated sellers. You can get a list of people who rent to people on public assistance. You can get a code enforcement list. Do you know the city's already driving around issuing citations for abandoned houses and hoarder houses and deferred maintenance houses? And you can get the city to give you a list of every problem property in the city. You can even get an expired listing list. This is a list of people that hired a realtor, tried to sell it on the MLS, and it didn't sell. So what do we know? And then the listing expired. What do we know about these people? 100% of these people would like to sell their house. Probably now more than ever. But they probably need solutions that realtors don't offer. Hello? That's what investors do offer. So you send letters, postcards, text messages, whatever, leads lists of people. Some of them will call you back. It is a statistical fact. If you make them an offer that solves their problem, we have an offer for every different kind of problem. Some of them say yes, and those are called deals. With a website, you can get leads on the internet, bandit signs, little 18 by 24-inch plastic signs. Why do you see them? Because they actually work, right? Online ads work, email, autoresponders, magnetic signs, little sign on the side of your car. You buy the sign once, you get leads for the rest of your life. Door hangers, you don't want to send out postage for 10 cents a door, you can have a door hanger, door flyer put on every door in a neighborhood. Here's one that's pretty much free, driving for dollars. Sometimes I'm just driving around and I see a tarp on a roof. They might as well be waving a big red flag. Desperate, motivated seller, please buy my house. I mean, now think about this. Somebody's most valuable asset, a house, okay, has a serious problem, okay, a leak, and their solution was to go buy a $5 tarp at Home Depot. Why didn't they fix the roof? No money. Same guy not fixing the roof, not paying his insurance, not paying his taxes, probably not paying his mortgage. Sooner or later, an investor is going to pick up that deal. You don't have to do all of these things. You need to do 3 of these things, right? And you're all different. Some of you are going to like this, some of you like that, some take time, some take money. Everybody has a unique budget of hours and dollars, right? When you come to the training, I'm going to help each of you set your own unique individual budget. So what are the other marketing methods? Oh, wait, we interrupt this program for a special announcement. Actually, I made the announcement. So, yeah, the training. We have training coming up. So, I teach this myself, by the way. I do enjoy teaching if you haven't figured that out. And, you know, we teach all the methods. I'm a very creative real estate investor. I used to be an electrical engineer. Now I'm a transactional engineer. So I'm going to show you some really cool transactions, all the strategies, all the marketing campaigns. My favorite thing to teach is the closes. Closes are the scripts, exact words you say to get somebody to accept your solution to their problem, your offer on their property. So I'll give you an example. Recently, I said some magic words to a woman here in Texas. And by simply uttering these magic words to this woman, she gave me her house. She just gave me the house. Beautiful house. Nothing wrong. Perfect condition. The house. She just gave it to me. Here are the keys. Here's the deed. A lot of equity in the house. Didn't have to give her any money at all. She even said, thank you for taking my house. Right? Because of these magic words. Like Jack and the Bean, he had magic beans. I have magic words, right? Magic words. We call those closes. So who's feeling a little skeptical right now? Raise your hand if you're feeling skeptical. Who's not feeling skeptical? Seriously? I just told you I have magic words, and by simply telling somebody magic words they give me, and you believe that? Okay, I want you to stay after class. I got a land deal we're going to talk about, okay? You know. No, seriously, guys. I just said I have magic words, and by simply uttering magic words, some woman just gave me her house, a beautiful house, nothing wrong, perfect condition, lots of equity. She just gave it to me. Here's my house. I didn't even have to give her money. She even said, thank you for taking this off my hands. Thank you for taking my house. So who's feeling a little skeptical right now? Raise your hand if you're feeling a little skeptical. I want you to feel skeptical. I'm baiting you to feel skeptical. So please remain skeptical. Because in a couple of minutes, when I demonstrate how I actually did it, the more skeptical you are right now, the more impressed you'll be a couple of minutes from now. But those are the closes, and they're a lot of fun to teach. So we do this live and in person. We also simulcast. You can even go back and forth if you want to. And it's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We also have a commercial class. A lot of you seem to be interested in that. So usually people come to the residential class first, and then we invite them to the commercial class second. So it's kind of a part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. And it all fits nicely together. So these are the dates and locations. It's the same workshop in the 3 different cities, but they're in 3 different places. I recommend that you come live. If you can't come live, you're welcome to come online. Or if you have relatives in another city or whatever, you know, maybe you want to go there. Sometimes when I get training, I want to go to some other place. But I would say just pick, for the most part, the date that works best for you, and I will see you there. And if all of these dates don't work for you, if you have a conflict, for example, if your daughter is getting married, I recommend that you cancel the wedding, because the most important thing that's going to happen, that's going to change your life in a good way, is coming to this workshop. I mean, literally, it'll change your life. Okay. I'll hand out a form in a minute, and we'll get you guys signed up. But let me do a little more training, and it is free. But let me give you a little more training on marketing. What else? Letters of intent. What is a letter of intent? A letter of intent is an offer. So the question is, who should you send an offer to? And the answer is everybody. So I'm going to give you all your first homework assignment. Tomorrow, I want each of you to send 300 people an offer in their home. Yeah, I'm not kidding. You see, here's how investors think. Ready, fire, aim. You make the offer, and then you negotiate. You make the offer, and then you do your due diligence. You make the offer, and then you look for the money. You make the offer, and then, and only then, do you think about it. This is how investors play, guys. You should make everybody an offer. You should make hundreds of offers. Why? Do you know that every time you make somebody an offer here in Texas, you know you get 4 different options? You might want to write them down. Option number 1, you can buy a house, because they might say yes. If you take 300 shots on goal, what do you think is going to happen? Some of them go in, even if you suck. And with practice, what happens? More of them go in, because with practice, you don't suck. Right, so option number 1, you can buy a house. Option number 2, you can terminate the offer. The Texas state promulgated contract gives the buyer the unilateral right to just rip it up, terminate, no harm, no foul, no risk, no penalty. That's normal. In normal real estate, people buy properties under contract, then they change their mind. And you can just rip it up, terminate, no harm, no foul, no penalty, no risk. Option number 3, you can renegotiate the offer after you make it. Do you know that it's much, much, much easier to renegotiate than it is to negotiate? Option number 4, you can even sell your contract, your equitable interest, to somebody else that has money. Notice only one of those 4 options even required you to come up with any money to buy a house. Just make offers and give yourself options. So, why so many different marketing methods? FSBO, for sale by owner, right? Why would somebody try to sell their own house? Maybe they're lazy, maybe they're crazy, maybe they need solutions realtors don't offer. Why so many different marketing methods? Well, the question is, would you rather fish with a hook or would you rather fish with a net? And the answer is you need to fish with a net. And the reason is because this business is a numbers game, and now I'm going to teach you the numbers. I'm going to teach you something right now that it took me 2 years of hard work to figure out. So I'm going to shave 2 years of your learning curve right now. By 2005, I had been a real estate investor for 2 years. And I calculated in my first 2 years, I generated about 400 leads. A lead is just a name and address of somebody that might want to sell real estate. So in my first 2 years, I was looking at a house every couple days, and then I did the math. And here's what I discovered. I thought this was pretty interesting. As a rookie, on average, for every $100 I spent on paid marketing, things like direct mail, I got 1 qualified motivated seller lead. As a rookie, on average, for every 3 hours I spent on personal marketing, things like driving for dollars, I got 1 qualified motivated seller lead. Then I discovered that as a rookie, on average, for every 20 leads I got, I made at least $20,000 net profit on a deal. So let me do the math for you. That means as a rookie, every time I drove around for 60 hours, I made at least $20,000 net profit. That means as a rookie, every time I sent out $2,000 in direct mail, I made at least $20,000 in net profit. Spend $2,000, make 20. Spend $2,000, make 20. Spend $4,000, make 40. Spend $8,000, make 80. Spend $16,000, make 160. Spend $32,000. You don't have to spend it all at once, by the way. Make $320,000 net profit. Are you starting to like the numbers? It took me 2 years to figure that out. But after 2 years, what I realized is, holy cow, this whole thing is just a numbers game, and now I know the numbers. And I started to think about my business in a completely different way after I figured this out. Now I think about my business like the whole thing is just a little black box. And we're going to call that little black box a marketing machine. And the way that little black box works is every time I stick $100 worth of marketing in one end, eventually $1,000 worth of net profit pops out the other end. So if you had a little black box, a little business called a little black box, and every time you shoved a $100 bill in one end, a $1,000 bill popped out the other end, how many dollars would you stick in the box? All of them. And I started spending money on marketing like a drunken sailor. I started spending thousands of dollars a month on marketing. And then my business started spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on marketing. And then I hired 2 full-time, 6-figure guys who do nothing with their full-time other than spend my money on marketing. And now sometimes I spend as much as $100,000 a month on marketing. Because once you know it's a numbers game, and once you know the numbers, you dial it in and then you dial it up. Once you know for every $100 you spend, you make 1,000, how many you spend? As many as you can. You dial it in and then you dial it up. Sometime later, I actually wrote a book on investing in Texas. I don't offer the book anymore. I found the book's not that helpful. No, books are not helpful. Videos are not helpful. And the reason they're not that helpful is because, learning real estate is not a skill, it's a language. It's not complicated, there's just a million details. But you can't learn a language from reading a book. Go read 100 books on how to speak Spanish, you'll learn how to count to 10. Right? The only way to learn a language is immersion. It was not until I joined the Real Estate Investor Association and started hanging out with investors and hearing things 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 times, so I started picking it up, right, be able to do it myself. So we're right at the just past the middle of the presentation. I'm about to do the strategies, arguably the most interesting part of the presentation. But if you remember, I said earlier, my job is to make you educated and contributing members of this community. We really want you to be participatory. We have these meetings all over Texas, and we always have a lot of new people. I see a lot of new faces. We have new people come to the meetings, and we call the new people tourists, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, honey, let's go check out the REIA, right? And that's cool, right? But I figured out a long time ago that nobody makes any money being a tourist. We need people to be active. What does that mean? Buying, selling, investing, borrowing, lending, partnering. That's where everybody makes money. But I also figured out that unfortunately, I can't turn somebody into a real estate investor in 45 minutes. If I could sprinkle pixie dust around the room and turn everybody into real estate investors in 45 minutes, yeah, that would be awesome. I can't do it. But I can, and I have, on many, many occasions, turn people into real estate investors over a period of 24 hours. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say 24 hours spread out over 3 days, where we have the time to get through all the nitty-gritty details of how to do this. And this is why I teach the Texas REIAs Flipping Real Estate Investing Workshop. Practical, actionable, detailed, step-by-step training, 24 hours spread out over 3 days, where we have time to get through all the strategies, all the marketing, all the closing scripts, how to partner, how to access funding. Thousands of the most successful investors in Texas got there from this workshop, the real deal, the one, Texans teaching Texans how to invest in Texas. So we've got the workshop coming out. We'll hand some forms. You're welcome to join us, and you can join us either live in person, I recommend that, or you can join us online. Just pick the location and city you would like to attend. Oh, some of the things we're going to talk about. We have heat maps. Nobody else has this. We've identified down to the street level exactly which streets to buy and hold on and which streets to fix and flip on. And it's going to surprise you. We have millions of data points and records and data points and analysis nobody else has had. What other stuff are we going to talk about? How to get off-market deals from outsourcing, which is a great thing to do. I like anything that helps me scale up my business. How to get paid by offering to remodel houses for free. My favorite strategy, we offer free house remodeling, and we make a fortune by giving away free house remodeling. I'm going to teach you that trick. It's a pretty cool trick. How about how to get 3% mortgages? There's a new loan product. You can get a 3% mortgage, and it's no credit check and no money down. Sounds unbelievable. Way better than the old 3%. The old 3% required good credit and a 20% down payment. The new product is 3% mortgages with no money down, no credit check. Who would like that loan? Raise your hand if you'd like that loan. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Sounds absolutely, that's such a good trick. I'll tell you what, I'm going to teach you that in this presentation, so stand by. That's a really cool one, but we'll go into detail in the workshop as well. But I'm going to show you that one in just a few minutes. How about how to use AI? This is what I use. I use Flipping Pro, AI chatbots. When you're talking to somebody online, they may not be a person anymore, just so you know. So that's what we do. How about using virtual assistants? I've had 14 Filipino virtual assistants. And they speak American English. They have college degrees. And, because of the exchange rate, I'm paying them what is considered a fortune in the Philippines. Paying 14 people here would cost me over $100,000 a month, but I can hire a whole army in the Philippines and pay them a fortune because of the exchange rate. I'll show you how to do that as well. That's just a little tidbit of some of the stuff we're going to be talking about. So the workshop is in Austin, Dallas, and Houston, live and in person and online. Just pick the date that works best and come and join us at that date. Oh, I am going to offer some other things. So also, if you can, we would love to have you also join the REIA. So if you would like to join the REIA, let's ask another question. How many of you would like to have access to 20,000 buyers? Who would like a 20,000 buyer list? Okay, you should join the REIA. Would you like to be able to ask me questions, interact with me online? Okay, you should join the REIA. Who would like to have access to 1,000 private money lenders? Anybody want 1,000 private money lenders? Okay, yeah, you should join the REIA. So the Texas REIAs is the only organization in Texas that actively spends money on legislative action to protect the rights of real estate investors. If few years ago, we came this close that seller finance wraparound mortgages almost became illegal in the state of Texas. If it was not for this organization, you would not be able to do that today. So if you'd like to become a member of the REIA, you get some great privileges with that. You get VIP seating at the workshop, which means you get to sit up front in some special seats. You get some special VIP lunch sessions, so you get lunches at the meeting and some special training. You get access to our private online group. We have 20,000 buyers and 1,000 private money lenders. You get a Texas Money Resource Guide, a special training program, and some special events that we do online as well. So please join the REIA if you can. It's a wonderful thing to do. If you have the slightest interest in real estate, you really should do it. It is a one-time cost of a whopping $250, but I'm even going to give you a deal on that. And you can do it for $100. So if you'd like to join the REIA, it's $100. If you have $100, please join the REIA. You are welcome to come to the training because we want everybody to get the training. But if you can, you really should join the REIA as well. And if you join the REIA, it is $100 to join the REIA. So we're going to hand out some little forms. Oh, and you also get as a bonus our commercial workshop. You know, people typically charge like $1,000 for one of these workshops, and we do the workshops for free. We also have a really cool poster. I'll show you this a little bit later. This is what happens when an engineer becomes a real estate investor. These are, believe it or not, the 273 things you need to know to be a real estate investor. Like I said, engineers become real estate investors. Like all the different investing strategies, the marketing campaigns, sales and negotiating scripts, all the different operation stuffs like power teams and corporate structures, finance, all the different analysis, due diligence steps. We have some posters, really cool poster. So if you join the REIA, you also get this cool poster you can hang on your wall as a little thank you for joining the REIA, being a patron of this organization. And then you come to the workshop and you get priority seating and we show you how all this stuff works. So that is how this works, and we're going to hand out a little form and then get back into the training. And for you guys online, we're going to post a link online so you can fill this out. The form, by the way, is really simple. Give me one of the forms. Can you give me one of the forms? Okay, and can you hand the forms out? Okay, so at the top of the form, just pick which city or location, address, date. There's a date up at the top, right? Austin, Dallas, Houston. The date is the Friday of the 3 days. So circle which of the 3 events you want to go to, right? Austin, Dallas, or Houston. Pick it by date. The date is Friday. The workshop you can see is free. Just let us know if you want to come online or if you want to come live. Even if you come live, you can go back and forth online, and it's on Zoom, so we simulcast, and people sometimes need to go back and forth, or maybe you can't come live all 3 days. Please also join the REIA. If you do join the REIA, it's $100, which is an incredible deal, and you get all of these wonderful benefits, and it's $100 to join the REIA. There's also some other resources we have, so you give us a little bit more information about yourself. We will connect you up with some other resources. And then one last piece of advice, when you fill out the form, please write your name and especially your email address very legibly. We're going to text and email your tickets to you, and we'll also give you a little packet with your tickets, but if for some reason we can't read your email, then somebody else is going to get your tickets and their life is going to change and yours is not. So we'll hand out the forms. We'll collect the forms at the end. So we're going to have you, we're going to pull the back receipt off, right? So we're going to take the form at the end. You don't have to fill it out right now. We'll collect the forms a little bit later, but we'll hand them out right now. And do please join the REIA. So let's get it back to the training. Now the good stuff. Marketing, check. Let's talk about the strategies and the mechanics of how these deals actually work. So this is the good part. So people always ask me, what's the best strategy? I mean, there's so many different ways you can do this. And I'm going to answer that question right now. Because after all, you could do short sales, and you could do buy and hold. You can do mortgage assignments, auction options. You can do referrals, wholesaling, contracts for deeds. You can do lease options. You can do house swapping, wraparound mortgages. You can do equity partnering. You can do fix and flip. You can certainly spend a lot of time and money on all that training and education. In fact, my wife and I have actually spent over $100,000 on training, coaching, seminars, books, etc. Most of it was great. Some of it was not great. All sounded great. But I don't really feel bad about spending over $100,000 on our education because we've made many millions of dollars from our education. But what's the best strategy? Which one should we start with? Well, here's the good news. All of these strategies work. They all work. All of these things can make you money investing in real estate. That's the good news. The bad news is that they each only work in unique situations. So each of these strategies should be thought of as a solution to a specific problem or situation. But if you remember what I said earlier, your job one is to find the deal. So let's talk about that. And I'm going to tell you about rookie mistake number 2. Here's a brand new investor looking for a deal, hunting for a deal. Maybe he's knocking on doors, maybe he's sending out letters, maybe he's using Flipping Pro to do chat messages, and he gets a lead. What is a lead? A lead is just a name and number of somebody that might want to sell real estate. Well, if this guy had gotten the right training, he would have learned how to solve that seller's problem using a strategy called a wraparound mortgage. But unfortunately, that's not the training he got. This guy just went to some wholesale seminar. All he learned how to do was wholesaling. So he's looking for a wholesale deal and he didn't find one. He found a wrap deal and he doesn't know how to do that. So he can't help that seller, he can't make money on that lead. So what's he going to do? He's going to do some more marketing and generate yet another lead. And now if he only knew how to do a mortgage assignment, he could solve a problem and get himself a check. But again, he doesn't know how to do that because he just went to a wholesale seminar. He's looking for a wholesale deal. So he does some more marketing and generates yet another lead. And now if he only knew how to do an auction option, he could solve a big problem and get himself a big check. But again, he doesn't know how to do that because all he knows how to do is wholesaling, and he's still looking for a wholesale deal. Are you starting to see the problem? This is big rookie mistake number 2. And most people propagate this problem. There's 30,000 YouTube videos that teach people how to get started investing in real estate. What most of that training and education says is you need to get started by doing one strategy, and this is the best one. No, this is the best one. No, this is the best one. Well, whatever. You need to pick a strategy, learn a strategy, make money on that strategy, and then after you learn how to make money on that strategy, later on you can learn some other strategy. And it sounds pretty good, it feels pretty good, but forgive my language when I say this, that is a completely ass-backwards way to go about this. Saying that you need to get started by learning one strategy and you need to make money on one strategy before you learn the other strategy, that's kind of like saying you need to go to Las Vegas and learn how to bet on one number on the roulette wheel. And after you make enough money betting over and over and over again on that one number on the roulette wheel, well, then you can learn how the other numbers work. Well, that's ridiculous. And yet that's how 95% of real estate investors get started investing in real estate. And is it no surprise that 95% of real estate investors give up before they ever get going? And about 99% of wholesalers. So let's have that talk about wholesaling, right? A lot of people say, I want to get started wholesaling. And there's nothing wrong with wholesaling. But the problem with wholesaling is I would argue of all the strategies that I use and that I teach, because I teach wholesaling and I teach all the strategies, of all the strategies that I use and that I teach, I would argue wholesaling is the hardest one to do that on average makes the least amount of money. So when I hear somebody say, I want to get started by wholesaling, here's how my brain translates that plan. I want to do the hardest thing there is to do that on average makes the least amount of money. And I know from my experience that about 99, maybe not 100, but about 99 out of 100 people that try to execute that plan give up before they ever get going. How many of you have read the book, The Millionaire Wholesaler? Yeah, it's never been written, okay? And it never will be because it's the hardest one to do that makes the least amount of money. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's just one of the strategies. Right? So I'm going to teach you what the top 5% of investors do, and then I'm going to tell you play to be in the top 5% or don't bother because they make all the money. So here's what I'm going to teach you at the workshop. This is how I do it. This is what the top 5% do. I bet on all of the numbers on the wheel, and then I spin the wheel a lot. And what do I mean by I bet on all the numbers on the wheel? I use all 12 strategies. Why not learn all 12 ways to fill out a contract and solve a problem? You spend time and money to find somebody with a problem. There's a way to help them and solve the problem and get paid. You need to help them and solve their problem and get paid. And when you know all 12 strategies, we have a solution for every problem there is. Motivated, non-motivated, free and clear underwater. We can help everybody that has a house, right? Which gives us an opportunity to make money on every lead that we get. And then what do you want to do after that? You want to spin the wheel a lot, which just means look at a lot of deals and take a lot of shots on goal. So this is what the top 5% of investors do. Play to be in the top 5% or don't bother. Right? It's not that hard to do. Just know all the strategies. So let's get into some strategies. Actually, let me tell you another story. This is my first big deal. So this was after I was a real estate investor for just over 2 years. I flipped this house. My first big deal. Actually made $291,000 net profit, pretty good profit. But the more interesting part of the story is I was actually the 8th investor at bat. So what does that mean? It means 7 other real estate investors looked at this deal before me and passed on the deal. So how is that possible that 7 real estate investors passed on a deal, on an opportunity to make almost $300,000 on a house? How's that even possible? I'm going to tell you it's not just possible, it's actually typical. Let me tell you the rest of the story. Yeah, let me tell you the rest of the story. First investor walks into this house and says, I love to buy your house, but you're underwater. You owe more money than the house is worth. You can't afford to sell me the house. Second investor walks into this house and says, I love to buy your house, but you're in bankruptcy. I can't buy a house from somebody in bankruptcy. Third investor walks into this house and says, well, I can help you avoid a foreclosure by doing something called a short sale, but I can't do that while you're in bankruptcy. Plus, you have a mid-construction project. I don't do mid-construction. I walked into this house and I said, my, oh my, oh my, you have a lot of big problems, right? Turns out it took 3 different strategies to solve the problem. I solved the problem. I got the check. My competition was a bunch of one-trick ponies. Most of my competitors are a bunch of one-trick ponies. There's 30,000 YouTube videos that teach people how to be one-trick ponies. One-trick ponies are annoying, they get in the way at times, but they don't last long. If you think you're going to find pretty houses at big discounts just waiting for you, hanging off of trees, yeah, you're smoking crack, okay? This is what opportunity looks like. A big bundle of problems. I want a house where half the house burned down. I want a house that had a meth lab that exploded in the garage. I want a house that flooded. I want a house with mold. I want a house where someone was murdered in the living room. Oh, yeah. You can make a killing on a murder house. I own one. So murder's not common, but stigma is. So how do you make money on a stigma house? Let me give you a tip. What do you think it cost to buy a murder house? Take a guess. Cheap. 20 cents on the dollar. And do you know what everybody says when they look at that house? They point at the house. That's a murder house. And a year later, everybody going by that house, they point at that house and like, man, something bad happened in that house. A few years later, they're going by that house and they kind of look around and say, I think something happened somewhere around here. About 5 years later, they go by that house and what do they say? How much? Yeah. Somebody gets shot in a bar, it's a crime scene. A few years later, it's a tourist attraction. The point is stigmas go away. I bought a house for $180, it's now worth $480. What did I do? I didn't do anything. I rented it out cheap to a guy that didn't mind living in a murder house. The point is problems are opportunities, and big problems are big opportunities. Most people are like, oh, I don't want any problems. You don't want to be an entrepreneur. So I'll tell you another story. One of my students recently bought one of those $150,000 Teslas, paid cash for it, and he calls it his air car, H-E-I-R, air car. Somebody died without a will. Do you know that 2 out of 3 people don't have a will? Light bulb. But they did have 42 heirs. And everybody said, no way, man, no way. You're going to get 42 people to agree on something, big problem. Well, he rolled up his sleeves and it took a little effort, but eventually got 42 people to agree that a little bit of something is a whole lot better than a whole lot of nothing. Now he's driving around a $150,000 air car. Problems are opportunities. Big problems, big opportunities. We help people by solving their problems. So let me teach you a couple solutions and a couple strategies. I got time for maybe 2 strategies. First strategy I'm going to teach you today is wholesaling. It's the easiest one to teach. I'll teach you right now. How does this work? It's actually really simple. You just find a property and get it under contract. How much money does it cost to get a property under contract? 0. Can we all afford that? Yes. And then after we get it under contract, we have what's called an equitable interest in the property. Instead of buying the property, we're simply going to sell the contract. Our rights, our equitable interest to another investor for a fee. Okay, well, then how much is the fee? Well, let's talk about the fee. $500 to $5,000 for a small deal, $10,000 to $25,000 for an average deal, $25,000 or more for a big deal. And this is a no money and no risk strategy. I've discovered it's really hard to lose any money when you're not actually spending or investing any money. So let me show you an example. When you come to the workshop, I'm going to teach you the strategy. I just taught you the strategy. That's the theory, but then I teach the story. In fact, when you come to the workshop, I'm going to tell you at least 100 different stories. So be prepared to listen to a lot of stories. And because the story is where somebody actually did it, right? And that's, I think, much more educational to hear actually how this was actually done, how it was used. So this is an example. This is Kimberly. She came to the workshop. And then she went out and did her first deal. This was her first deal. She told me about this after it went down. Her mom was visiting her from out of town. So she's in the car with her mom. And her mom's like, Kim, where are we going? Oh, well, Mom, we're going to get a house under contract. What? Kim, are you crazy? What are you talking about? You just graduated from college. You don't have any money. You don't have any credit. You don't even have a job. What do you mean you're getting a house under contract? Don't worry, Mom. I know what I'm doing. So Kim's mom watched Kim walk into that house and offer the seller $265,000 cash for his house. Now, obviously, it was a motivated seller. Obviously, they talked on the phone ahead of time. Kim then took that contract and she posted it out to the network. This is why you want to be a member of the REIA. You know, we meet every minute of every day online. You know, over the last decade, thousands and thousands and thousands of times, people post their questions, their contracts, their offers, their loans, their resources back and forth on that network. Now, I said earlier, guys, you're not going to find your deal in the MLS. That's the retail market. That's the retail pond. That's the pond with the small fish. You need to fish in the wholesale pond. So where's the wholesale pond? You're sitting in it. Yeah, a big network of real estate investors. So she just posted this deal out to the network, and guess what? Several other investors wanted to buy that contract, that deal from Kim. So Kim sold her contract to another member of the REIA for $17,000. So Kim just sold her contract to another member of the REIA for $17,000. So now Kim's a believer. Well, actually, Kim was a believer. Now Kim's mom is a believer. Now, what would Kim have done with the contract if nobody wanted to buy the contract? What would she done with it? Right? Terminate. That's her option. No harm, no foul, no risk, no penalty. But she didn't need to. So she sold the contract to another member of the REIA by the name of Tatiana. Let me tell you about Tatiana. I know her pretty well. Tatiana paid Kim $17,000 for the contract. It then became Tatiana's contract. Crossed Kim's name out, where it said buyer, wrote her company name in. Tatiana then bought the property for $265,000 cash. She had the cash. She kept it for 6 months as a month-to-month rental. After the tenants moved out, she did a renovation, a small addition, and then she sold it right after owning it for 12 months. And when she sold it, she made almost $100,000 of net profit that she didn't have to pay income taxes, only long-term capital gains taxes. Do you think Tatiana was pretty happy that Kim found that deal for her? What do you think? Yeah. Absolutely. So let's see what we got. Get a little audience participation. By a show of hands, just out of curiosity, how many of you are cash buyers? Wave your hand around if you're a cash buyer. Let me ask you a different question. How much cash do you have to make a cash offer? 0. Well, then how much cash do you have to be a cash buyer? 0. You don't have to have any cash to make a cash offer. You don't have to have any cash to be a cash buyer. You just need to know people with cash. So let me ask you another question. Does anybody here know somebody that you could call if you got a smoking hot deal to buy a property for a big discount for cash? Does anybody know such a person? For example, who? Yeah, what do you think I'm doing up here? Over here, guys. I hope you got that, right? You know, and in fairness, there's hundreds of guys just like me out on that network that would be pleased as punch, right? If you guys got out there and got some properties under contract, you don't want it yourself, pitch it back to the group. That's why we want you. That's why we need you. That's why we'll even train you on how to do this and be educated, contributing members of this community. But I can tell I have my work cut out for me. So let me try this again. By a show of hands, how many of you are cash buyers? Raise your hand if you're cash. Oh, fantastic. I love talking about cash buyers. Right? And the network instantly puts people in contact, right? In people with cash in connection with people with deals. Instantly puts people with deals in connection with people with cash. Right? Join the REIA. You got 20,000 buyers just like that. You know, these stupid wholesale classes, oh, go build a buyer's list. I built you the buyer's list. You're sitting in a buyer's list. I've got tens of thousands of buyers ready to buy. You know, don't waste a minute building a buyer's list. I want you to do something important, find a deal, right? That's what's actually important. All right, one more strategy and we'll wrap it up. This one's a little more interesting and a little more complicated. It is called buying a property subject to the mortgage. This is buying and owning real estate even with no money and with no credit. I am a nationally recognized expert at teaching this strategy. It is possible I am the national expert. I don't know, I'm certainly a national expert. I don't know of anybody that's as successfully taught as many tens of thousands of people how to actually do this as I have. So what does this mean and how does this work? How does real estate work? When somebody buys real estate, what do? They go to a title company and they sign a stack of documents. Most of the documents are disclaimers and disclosures, but then there's two documents that actually make the transaction happen. The two documents that make everything happen are the deed and the note. Totally separate documents, a deed and a note. Whosever name goes on the deed, that's who owns the real estate, the property. Whosever name goes on the note, that's who's responsible for the mortgage. So there's a deed and there's a note. Completely separate documents. Now, usually it's the same guy that is on both. A guy buys a house, his name is on the deed, his name is on the note, he owns a house, he's responsible for the mortgage. That is normal. He moves into the house and it's his house, and all the rights and privileges and responsibilities and benefits of home ownership, they all go to him. At the end of the month, the bank sends him a statement. He writes the bank a check for $2,000, the bank gets a check, mortgage payment. Bank's happy, he's happy, everybody's happy. That's how it works. And then the guy goes on to get married. And you know, well, Texas is a community property state. So after the guy gets married, the wife is added to the deed. Now there's two names on the deed. Look at the tax records, him and her. So now there's two names on the deed, but his name is still the only name on the note. Just because somebody's taken on or off the deed, that does not affect the note. And then time goes on and things don't work out and they get a divorce. And in their situation, the wife gets the house in the divorce. So now something kind of interesting has happened. Now her name is the only name left on the deed, but his name is still the only name on the note. So the question is, as long as he keeps sending the bank a check every month, or she starts sending the bank a check every month, or a tenant or a property manager, a neighbor, investor, friend, or family member, or somebody sends the bank a check every month, the question is, does the bank actually care who wrote the check? No. There's some dude sitting at the bank getting paid $9.82 an hour to open envelopes. He's like, oh, we got a check. Came on time. It's for the right amount. It cleared. We're good. So if you're all listening to my story so far, I just told you all a story about a woman, about a spouse, about a person that was able to acquire real estate, even with no money and with no credit. So there it is, a way somebody can acquire real estate with no money, no credit. I told you I was going to tell you how to acquire real estate with no money, no credit. Okay, so here's the really, really good part. You can all do exactly the same thing, and you don't have to get married to do it. Because here's the deal. Anybody in this room, anybody in this state, anybody, kids, adults, legal, illegal, anybody can go up to any homeowner that has any loan, any mortgage from any lender at any house at any time, and you can make them an offer. The offer anybody can make with any homeowner that has any loan, any mortgage from any lender at any house at any time is this: I will make the payments going forward on your mortgage for you going forward, or I will find somebody to make the payments on your mortgage for you going forward. What's the catch? The catch is you have to hand the deed, which is ownership of the property, to me. It's called buying a property subject to the existing mortgage. You can do this with any homeowner that has any loan from any lender at any house at any time. And the only person on the planet that has to agree to this transaction is the person whose name is on the deed, not the bank. The bank has no say in this transaction. There are federal laws that regulate this transaction. Anybody can transfer their deed to anybody. Anybody can pay somebody else's mortgage if they want to. So if you're listening to me closely, here's what you just heard me say. You can buy any house in Texas from any homeowner in Texas that has any loan from any lender, and you can buy that person's house at any time, and you can buy that person's house even with no money and even with no credit by simply offering to take over the payment on their mortgage, or even offering to find somebody to take over the payment on their mortgage in exchange for them transferring the deed, which is ownership of the property to you. And once you learn how to buy real estate with no money and with no credit, then how many houses can you buy? All of them. Look, when somebody's in financial distress, they got a house, they got a mortgage. Is the house the problem or is the mortgage the problem? Owning a house is never a problem. Right? Being responsible for a mortgage, that can be a big problem when you're in financial distress. If you solve the big problem, hold the questions, I'll take them. But then you ask them to transfer the deed. So it's simply agreeing to pay a seller's mortgage in exchange for the deed. Now, once they transfer their deed to you, you own it. You can do whatever you want. You can renovate it, retail sell it to somebody else. You can wrap it, you can assign it, you can keep it as a rental property. You can keep it as your own homestead if you want. I've helped many of my friends buy their very own homestead, even with no money and no credit, using this strategy. How much money can you make? Well, there's several ways that you can do a deal that requires you to make a lot of money. You can make a lot of different money depending on which variation of this. A small flip, at least 10 or 15,000, and this is another little or no money, little or no risk strategy. So let me show you an example to make it a little more clear. This is one of the $30 million worth of houses that I personally own with my wife here in Texas. Now, if I wanted to buy $30 million worth of houses, traditionally, I'd have to put down 20% every time I bought a house. In other words, I'd have to be a multi-millionaire just to become a millionaire. Well, I wasn't a millionaire when I was sitting in these chairs 20 years ago. So how was I able to acquire $30 million worth of houses? Well, I'm going to tell you, most of them were purchased using exactly this strategy. This is the one, including this one. So let me tell you about this one. A woman owned this house worth $150,000. She owed $110,000 on her mortgage. So this house has $40,000 in equity. She had the house rented out for $1,600 a month rent. The mortgage payment, including tax and insurance, $1,100 a month. So this house is generating $500 a month of gross cash flow. It should have and could have, and it would have been a perfect rental property, except for one major problem. This woman had lost her job. She was continuing to collect the rent because she was living off of the rent, but she stopped paying the mortgage. 4 days before the first Tuesday of the month, when the bank was going to foreclose on her, I knocked on her door. Can I help you? I am here to help you. But what can you do? There's no time. They're going to foreclose on me. How can you stop that? How can you help? They're going to foreclose on me. There's no time. What can you do? How can you help? Here's what I can do. I can stop the foreclosure. I can reinstate your loan. I can catch up your mortgage payments. I can make your mortgage payments for you going forward. I can even repair all your credit. Well, that's amazing. What's the catch? You simply have to hand the deed, which is ownership of the property, to me. And she said, deal. Why in the world did she say deal? Because in 4 days, she's losing the house. That was a done deal. But she wasn't just going to lose the house. In addition to losing the house, she was going to get a bonus to go along with it. What do you call the bonus? A foreclosure. And here's what I told her, and here's what I will tell you. You may think a foreclosure is the end of your problem. It's not. It's the beginning of a 10-year nightmare that starts with the sheriff and his deputies dragging you and your family and all of your possessions to the curb in front of your friends and neighbors. It's 10 years of dealing with the IRS potentially garnishing your wages to collect on a 1099 that could be issued against you for up to the full value of your loan. It's 10 years of dealing with the lender potentially filing a lawsuit against you for up to the full value of the home. It's 10 years of dealing with creditors calling you, hounding you day and night to collect on the judgment from the lawsuit. It's 10 years of not being able to buy another home, not being able to buy a car, not being able to get a credit card, not being able to open certain bank accounts or even rent certain apartments or even get certain jobs. In other words, it's a bullet to the head. And nobody wants all that. And I stopped all of that from happening to her. And she was thrilled. And the bank was thrilled because they didn't want the house back. They just wanted their money. So I gave them their money. And the tenants were thrilled because they didn't want to get kicked out of the house. They just wanted to keep renting the house. So I let them keep renting it from me. But then mostly I was thrilled because for $4,500, which is what it cost me to reinstate this particular loan, I now own this beautiful $150,000 house. It came with a loan, came with $40,000 of equity, all mine, came with tenants paying me $1,600 a month rent. After I pay the bank $1,100, I put $500 back in my pocket, and if you think that's cool, my wife and I own $30 million worth of these properties. Some of them took small amounts of money like this. Most of them honestly took more money than this, but then some of them took absolutely no money at all. So question, how many of you would like me to walk you step by step by step through how to do this deal? All right, we're all out of time. I'm going to finish. We're almost done. We're almost done. So I do love this strategy, but I'll bet you don't know why I love it so much. Some of you are like, oh, you're making $500 a month. Yeah, that's not it. $500 is not going to affect my life or my lifestyle. What I love about this is by doing this over and over and over again, over 20 years, my wife and I were able to accumulate a portfolio that's now worth $30 million. In fact, just over the last 3 years, that portfolio went up in value by more than 30%. In other words, just over the last 3 years, my wife and I became more than $10 million richer from having done this thing over and over again that took little or no money and no credit. That's what I love about this. This is the strategy that will allow any of you to become multi-millionaires. I don't care how much money you have, it's not enough. You're not going to be able to get wealthy using your money. You got $500,000 in your checking account, great, go buy a house. Now you're done. Can't buy another one till you sell that one, right? That doesn't scale. You don't have enough credit. You don't have enough money. Elon Musk does not have enough money, right? You have to learn how to do this in a scalable way. This scales. When you can buy and own real estate with no money, no credit, that's how you do this. Remember, I said there's this new loan product, right? 3% interest, right? No credit check, no money down. You're looking at it. You find somebody that a couple of years ago got a 3% mortgage that now can't afford to pay their mortgage, and you just take over their payments. You just got a house, 3% interest, no money, no credit. It's way better than the old 3% loan that required money and credit, right? This is how you scale. And once I realized the wealth potential, right, I actually made one additional tweak to the strategy. I no longer buy these houses in my name. In fact, I no longer buy these houses in my company's name. Now when I buy these houses, I prefer to buy them with my IRA. How many of you were aware that you could do this transaction with your IRA? Okay, well, for the rest of you, you know you can do this transaction with your IRA. Yeah, we showed you like Directed Trust IRA, a partner, right, to this organization. If you come to the workshop, we will set up your IRA so you can do this with your IRA. So that'll be a little bonus at the workshop. We'll set it up for you. So what happens when my IRA does this? Well, my IRA issues the $4,500 reinstatement fee to the bank. The deed transfers to my IRA. Every month, the property manager deposits $1,600 of rent into the IRA. Every month, the IRA automatically issues a check to the bank to pay the mortgage of $1,100, and $500 rolls back into the IRA. But that's not the good part. What's the good part? Over the next 25 years, this property will double in value, and it will double again. And even at incredibly conservative appreciation rates, it'll almost double a third time. Something interesting happens to the loan over the next 25 years. What happens to the loan? It gets paid off by the tenants. Thank you very much, tenants. In other words, every time my IRA does this, my IRA ultimately ends up owning an asset worth about $1 million that by then I own free and clear. And because my IRA is also a Roth IRA, when I sell the asset in retirement, 100% of the proceeds are tax-free. Did you all just follow what we did here? I just showed you how to turn a $4,500 IRA into $1 million tax-free doing one deal one time, helping a woman out of a horrible situation, helping tenants stay in a property they want to stay in, helping a bank not take a property back they didn't want to take back. All that doing it once. The average retired person at the age of 65 has a net worth of $62,000. It's pathetic. If you just did this one deal, one time, you'd be 25 times richer than the average retired people just doing it once. But I'll tell you something else I've observed. I've never seen somebody do this deal once. 95% of the people will never do this deal. And 100% of the people that do it once, then what do? And then they do it again. And then what do? And then they do it again and again and again. And 20 years later, they're standing behind a podium at a Marriott talking about all the times they did it. So one last time, how many of you would like me to walk you step by step by step through how to do this deal? Okay, I'm going to walk you step by step through how you find it, how you get it under contract, exactly what contract to use, exactly what attorney and title company to close it at, right, how to go through all the operational steps to do this. So I'm going to walk you through all of that. Other questions, what experience do I need? 75% of the people are newbies. 25% are experienced that are coming to learn some of the advanced strategies that only we teach. Can I bring my significant other? Yes, there's no cost for that. In fact, I highly recommend you drag your significant other by force if necessary. And I'll tell you why. Because when somebody comes and they don't bring their significant other, inevitably what's going to happen is I'm going to teach you how to do this cool stuff. You're going to go home, you're going to say, honey, guess what? We're buying a house. So what do you think honey's going to say? No, you're crazy. You know, trust me. This is going to be fun and interesting. And I can't tell you how many people came to my workshop, they weren't even interested, and their whole life changed, and they ended up being the ones that picked up the ball and run with it. I'm pretty sure that Olivia was on a date. She wasn't even interested in real estate, and she got just dragged into it. And, you know, she was literally, if you hear her story, I mean, she was literally going through a divorce and had no money and debt and everything else, and now she's an accredited investor. If you know what that means, it means more than $1 million in net worth. So going from, you know, being big time in the red to being, you know, $1 million plus net worth in just a few years, it was life-changing. Can I bring, yes, 2 for 1, bring them with you. How do I know this is the real deal? Don't ask me. Why don't you ask somebody that's done it already? I actually invite everybody that comes to my workshop to give me feedback handwritten, because I don't trust the internet. You can't fake handwritten. We scan every feedback form and we post them online. And if you would like to see thousands of handwritten, hand-signed feedback forms, everyone different writing and everything else, you can't fake that. Go look for yourself. Why would I scan and post every single feedback form on the internet for the whole world to see? Go look for yourself. And I'll tell you what you're going to see. 99 out of 100 all say the same thing. Oh my God, this was literally a life-changing experience. And if you don't believe me, go look for yourself. Where do I get my tickets? Turn in your form. We're going to give you your tickets. We're also email and text it to you. If there's some kind of a problem at the last minute with the date, we will RSVP you right before, because we want to make sure we know how many people are live and online. And if something has to change with the date, we can put you in a later workshop. But do pick your date today and just sign up for whatever you think you're going to be able to attend. And we often charge. So right now we got it for free, so that's a pretty sweet deal. If you want even more help, join the REIA. Everybody should join the REIA. It's only $100. That's how you can interact with everybody else, you know, anytime, day or night. So please join the REIA. And with that, here's what I'm going to do. Fill out the form for you guys online. Fill it out now, and you get it for free. Pick your dates. I think I went through all that. And that is basically it. So we're going to stop our broadcast, and I am going to take some questions here in the room live. So guys online, thank you for joining us. We will see you at the workshop, and if you join the REIA, great. We'll give you your poster at the workshop.